Hi everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome back to another in-depth build guide for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. Today we're looking at Ember, who is probably the most lethal companion in the entire game. Her potential for damage is absolutely out of this world. It is unbelievably good, and I'll show you how to capitalize that today. This is based off my own playthrough on hard difficulty, and also important for me is to have it be pretty true to the lore, to her character, building Ember, sort of representing who she is and what her powers would be. We'll do a tiny bit of metagaming, a tiny little one-level dip in this build, but we have a pretty good lore justification for it, so I'm actually okay with it this time. But we'll see that when we get to it. So let's dive in. Actually, one sec. Minor spoilers, of course, for the companions here, and again, minor spoilers for a couple of items that you will want to get for Ember. That will sort of carry through her entire build. So if we flip over and we look at Ember, you're basically just looking at items that will up the DC of her spells, up her ranged attack with touch attack, stuff like that. There's a couple of rings, though, you can get in Act 3 from shops in Act 3 that you really want to get for her. Ring of Pyromania is the first one. Whenever you do fire damage, you'll do an additional 1d6 plus 5 fire damage and get a +2 to overcome spell resistance. And then Red Salamander is going to give her a whole bunch of spells for free. So Fireball, Controlled Fireball, Fire Snake, Hellfire Ray, Firestorm, and Fiery Body. So this gives her, it just fills up her spell book with a whole bunch of spells. So now you don't need to take those, and she can't actually get all of these anyway. And it just makes it so that she has basically fire spells on every single spell slot to blast. And then there's a whole bunch of other good items. One other one I would point out, for example, would be Malander's Insult, which is a Crusade relic you get from the Crusade minigame. This makes all of her fire spells do an additional 2d6 unholy damage as well. So all this stuff starts to stack up and makes her do super good damage. The thing that's very intriguing about Ember is that in fact, we can go straight into the respecking. She's actually not perfectly specced, funny enough, in my game. I'm actually going to build her slightly differently here. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. So let's dive in and let's optimize Ember here. Let's go. The interesting thing about her, two interesting things. One of the first ones, actually they both tie in together, but she actually comes with point blank shot by default. So +1 and attack and damage rolls at ranged weapons up to 30 feet away. And precise shot, where whenever you shoot or throw ranged weapons at an opponent who is fighting in melee, you don't take the standard -4 penalty on attack rolls. But she's a blackened witch. She takes a -4 penalty on weapon attack rolls, but she gets some fire spells for free. What the heck is going on here? Why is she getting these bonuses to attack, but she's also got a huge penalty to attack? That seems weird. What's actually happening is that this is all about the ray attacks in the game. So ray attacks are a type of magic attack that's actually does an attack roll. So it counts as like a physical attack, even though it's magic. And these ray attacks as well also target touch AC. Touch AC, you'll see if you look at enemies, they've got their standard AC, their flat-footed AC, and their touch AC. So standard AC is like all of their armor stuff. Flat-footed is that minus their dex bonuses. And then touch AC doesn't get bonuses from armor or from natural armor. So touch AC is a big weakness for a lot of enemies, and it's actually quite difficult to attack touch AC. One of the best ways, though, is with these rays, ranged attack rolls. And the fun thing about rays is that they do benefit from dexterity is what they use, because it's an attack roll, a ranged attack roll, so it uses dex. It does get benefits from point blank shot. It does need precise shots to hit, but it's not actually a weapon attack, so it doesn't get the -4 penalty from blackened, which is kind of weird, I know, because it's not technically a weapon, but it is a ranged attack. It's a bit strange, it's a bit funky, but that's what's going on. And obviously the blackened penalty gets lesser as you go further as well. Anyway, that's some quick talk about that and what is going to make her so strong. You want to give her a +1 charisma here. We're going to build a lot of her skills around charisma. It also affects the DCs of her spells. So particularly for her AoE spells, this makes them more effective. Dex is also very good on her because, again, Dex affects her ray spells. So it's sort of up to you which one you want to build for. I personally like putting stuff into charisma instead. I find that she hits things anyway because her touch attacks are so strong. She doesn't super need the Dex, but it's up to you. And I feel like Charisma really fits her character better than Dex does. But if you want to build her into Dex, maybe it's a little stronger overall. It's up to you. Same thing with her skills. For me, I want to build her in a way that fits her character, which means I want to make her know a good bit about religion, though she obviously has interesting takes on it. And I want to up her persuasion as well. But you can sort of mix her around and give her different stuff depending on how you want to build her. Early game, Ember is a bit weird because she doesn't have many of these spells. Obviously, early game, you don't have those rings I told you to buy in Act 3. You don't have those because you're not in Act 3. You're in, like, Act 1. So what are you going to do? Well, she has hexes to carry her over then. She actually starts with a couple that are good. Vulnerability Hex. Removes enemies' energies resistances, which is okay. It's not bad. Slumber, though, is actually very good. It's a very reliable CC spell. Yeah, you make them fall asleep, which is great. You can only target them once per day with it, but it just takes them out of the fight. You can actually use a coup de grace as well, which is a full round action that's a guaranteed crit with your melee attackers. You can use coup de grace on people that are asleep for some easy damage too. This is a very powerful early game spell. We're going to get her Evil Eye then to capitalize on that early game power, where you can choose these debuffs to put on your enemy. It gives them a -2 penalty, increases to a -4 penalty from 8th level onwards. So you can debuff their AC, ability checks, attack rolls, saving throws, or skill checks. And the fun thing here, it lasts for tons of rounds because she's got tons of charisma. The fun thing, if they succeed their save, they get to make a will save, and if they succeed, it still lasts 1 round. So you still guarantee the effectiveness of this, if albeit only for 1 round. You'll see, though, when we hit level 6, we're going to take Cackle, which is going to make this even more effective. So Cackle lets her spend her move action to extend her Evil Eye hexes, or Fortune, Protective Luck, Misfortune, by 1 round. The fun thing about this, the very, very fun thing about this, is that you can therefore stack all of Evil Eye, right? You debuff them with AC. They make a will save, they successfully save it, they have it for 1 round, but you Cackle straight away and extend it for another round. Then you apply, they still have the Evil Eye for AC, then you put Evil Eye saving throws on them, and then you Cackle, and now you're extending them both. Or you can also alternatively go in and, like, Evil Eye multiple things and keep cackling to extend those debuffs on multiple enemies and start just debuffing everything everywhere. And yeah, it's a good way to, number 1, deal with really tough individual bosses. Just stack all those debuffs on them and keep cackling to extend it, and then she goes into actually blasting. Or again, early game, this is like a very useful thing to do where your spell slots are limited, because this is unlimited. Once you get to the mid-game onwards, she's pretty much just better blowing things up, but this is a very powerful thing to do early game. In terms of her spells, you're going to have, again, a lot of flexibility with her spells. She's so good at just blowing things up with fire that's what you're going to do most of the time. And she actually gets most of the fire spells now for free anyway. So what we're going to be doing in general with her spell choices is trying to choose things that, that sort of, they're kind of more utility based. That, you know, maybe we sometimes want something like remove disease or something like that, right? She can do that sometimes. She's not going to cast it all the time. She'll use most of her spell slots on fire, basically. So there's a few decent things at level 2 kind of go along that line. I think Glitter Dust is a pretty good one early on. This makes all enemies blinded, which is extremely good. I think it reduces their chance to hit by half. So this can be a really good AoE CC spell to have early game. So I'd actually recommend grabbing Glitter Dust. She's not going to be super good at those conjuration spells later on, but that's okay. We're going to go in again into Stigmatized Witch. We give her the religion and the persuasion, and then it's sort of open to you what you want to give her. I'm going to give her a couple of points of UMD, get her up to 20 UMD, and then I'll probably put the rest in Knowledge Arcana myself. But again, alter it the way that you want to alter it. I kind of feel like Nature and World, she's a bit naive, a bit innocent, so I don't feel like those fit her too well. But it's up to you. It really is up to you. But I think these are the most lore friendly, so that's what I'm going with. Okay, level 5 feats. For level 5, excuse me, we want to get her spell penetration. A lot of enemies in this game have tons and tons and tons of spell resistance, so you just need to get spell penetration feats in order to get past it and not have to worry about it. You get a level 1 spell here, so her level 1 spell book. I actually recommend getting Reduced Person. Again, this is one of those funny things. Reduced Person reduces her size, gives her bonuses to Dex, penalties to Strength, +1 bonus on attack rolls and AC, but her melee and ranged weapons do less damage. Again, this is one of those fun things where by reducing strength and making your ranged weapons do less damage, this, for example, makes your archers do quite a lot less damage. But for Ember, with rays, it doesn't reduce the damage of the rays. The rays still do the same amount of damage. Rays don't have any scaling off of strength, but the bonus to dex and the bonus in attack rolls does help them. Plus, bonus to AC is always good too. So yeah, you can just always run her as a reduced person. Makes her a little bit tankier, a bit safer, and ups her chance to hit. It's just win-win, which is great. Here at level 2, there's not too much here that's too amazing. Cure Moderate Wounds is probably a pretty useful thing to have for a little bit of extra healing if you're stuck early game. So we'll get... by default at level 2, Glitter Dust for some AoE CC. Blinding is really good. And then Scorching Ray is like your go-to ray. You can see, what does Scorching Ray do? This is like your bread and butter spell for most of the game. You fire a ray, plus 1 additional ray for every 4 levels beyond 3rd, up to a max of 3 rays at a caster level 11. And each ray is a ranged touch attack that does 4d6 fire damage. So it targets touch AC, which is very much a weakness for most enemies. So it's a very, very consistent source of damage, and you get 3 of those rays. It's a lot of dice hits as well, which is going to get more powerful. You'll see later on as we go. So let's keep going. So Scorching Ray is a big one. Burning Arc is okay. It's guaranteed damage. It's a save DC, so reflex. So again, if they save it, they still take half damage. So that's some guaranteed damage if you can't hit stuff with rays. Though she will hit stuff with rays. I wouldn't worry too much. Okay, same things here for her skills. We want to get her Cackle at level 6, so you can extend those debuffs in case you ever need to do that. Then we get level 3 spells. So level 3, she's getting Fireball by default, which is AoE fire damage. It's very nice. So this is more situational. I'd recommend getting Heroism. If you don't have any Heroism, it's probably more useful to buff this up on your whole party. Plus 2 morale bonus in attack, saves, and skill checks. That's super good. So we'll grab Heroism. Just make sure that you have it covered. If you have it covered by someone else, feel free to switch it into something else. I'll actually cover those. You'll see it. You'll see it. The further ones I would take if not taking Heroism. So we'll go into these. We actually have an extra point for Arcana there, so we'll go into that. You can put more into UMD if you want to. Again, it's sort of up to you. Again, at this level, we want to get her greater spell penetration. So another +2 to overcome spell resistance, making sure spell resistance isn't an issue for us. At level 1, I'd recommend Unbreakable Heart. This lets you suppress effects such as confusion or fears on an ally. So this is just sort of an emergency thing. Like if your healer, Darren, for example, he's feared or he's confused, or Arushale, one of your archers, is confused and they're trying to kill your whole party, she can free them as a last resort. So that's kind of nice to have. At level 2, some summons could be useful, to be honest. Some summons just to fill out some of the fights. I also think False Life is okay. It's a tiny little bit of temporary HP. Just makes Ember a bit tankier because she is quite squishy. So we'll grab her that. Level 3, again, I like these remove things. So remove blindness. This is where we already took heroism. So again, if you don't need heroism, remove blindness, curse, disease. These are all situational things that are good to have. You're not going to get blinded that often, but when you do, it's really bad. You want to get rid of it. So it just helps her get rid of it. If you don't need to remove blindness, all good. She's a spontaneous caster. That's more fireballs to cast, so you're happy. Okay. Next level, level 8. And here's where you have to start making some decisions, to be honest. Making some decisions in terms of how you want to spec her. I like to round out wisdom. Right, rounding out wisdom gives her a bonus in lore religion, which is good. You might have points in perception. She's good at perception. So, for example, putting points into perception is also very good. It also gives her some more will saves, which is useful because, again, those confusion effects and stuff like that, there's a lot of those nasty debuffs, which are horrible on hard difficulty. I like to give her stuff so she can survive that. And again, we'll keep her going with the same sort of skills. Here, this is where stuff opens up a lot with what you want to give her. It's very much open. I think ward is kind of nice. Like, you can ward someone, give some deflection bonus, resistance bonus to AC. It's not terrible. You can have it on one target, can't put it on herself. So you could put this on someone else. The ward gets stronger at 8th and 6th level. So this is level 8. It's a +3 deflection bonus, +3 resistance saving throws. You could put this on another one of your squishy characters, like your healer, and just try to make them a bit extra tanky. So it's okay. Now we get level 4 spells. At level 4, she has Controlled Fireball, which is Fireball that doesn't hit your allies, which is very good. So you'd probably be casting Controlled Fireball a lot for some AoE damage. I'd recommend Death Ward at this level be my first choice. It's one of those mandatory buffs, and she'll have a lot of spell slots, so she's a good person to throw out a few Death Wards. Some heals is okay. You can go for that. I think Dimension Door is also very useful, and it's kind of a mandatory spell for Act 4. It's a little tip there. One False Life Greater is nice for some temporary HP as well. I'm going to grab her Death Ward. Okay, good. That was the Ward level. Ward and Death Ward. Who knew? Another Stigmatized Witch level. We're going to get same stuff here. An extra point there. Cool. And okay. Here we go. Level 9. So at level 9, we want to get her Spell Focus in Evocation. So Spell Focus Evocation will add +1 to all the DCs of all her evocation effects, which is basically all of her fire spells. So we want to grab that. And it also, in particular, opens up Mythic Feats as well. These level 2 things, we've pretty much taken everything here that's all that good. I don't know. Molten Orb could be okay, I guess. Seems fine. We'll grab Molten Orb for some more fire because it's thematic. Level 3, I'm going to grab Remove Curse at this point. So that there's very few curses, so you can maybe skip it, but when curses happen, they're really nasty. So having her be able to remove it is quite good. I'm going to give her the Dimension Door then at this level. Wonderful. Next level. Level 10 on the Witch. So some of this, some of this, some of this. And here we actually get major. We get major hexes from level 10 on. We can choose major ones. Restless Slumber probably be my go-to, especially if you're on turn-based or you're happy micromanaging it. This is a better Slumber Hex that makes them take damage every single turn, which does not wake up the creature, which is cool. And they'll also be confused when they wake up, which is very nice. So Restless Slumber, I would say, is probably the most useful one overall for some good CC. Then we get level 5 spells, which competes with Fire Snake. Fire Snake does not hit allies, so it's like an AoE line attack that does up to 15d6 fire damage. Reflex as well, it's a reflex save. If they save it, if they succeed, they still take half damage. So this is, again, very good general source of damage that you'll probably cast most of the time. There's a lot of stuff here, and none of it is all that good. I'd probably just grab her Summon Monster, so going into a tough fight, you could summon in a couple of additional things to help distract, but I actually think it's one of her weaker spell levels. Next up, we have level 11. Again, we'll go in the same thing. I guess we'll give her a bit more UMD, sure. And we'll give her the greater spell focus at this point into Evocation. Again, make her spells even better there. Again, this level doesn't have too much going on. I guess we'll get Web, I suppose. Then level 3, we'll get Remove Disease, could be okay. Delay Poison Communal, Dispel Magic is a bit weak. Summon Monsters, okay. We'll get Remove Disease just so she can be that sort of curing healer. She's got healing, and she also burns people. That's how she rolls. We'll get her False Life Greater then, actually, I quite like, at level 4, which just gives her a bunch of temporary HP. It stacks with regular False Life as well, so you can have both for some extra buffs, which is good. Man, this level's definitely a bit wonky. Like, what else to take here? I don't know. You could take Waves of Fatigue and Fatigue, but you're pretty much, at this point in the game, you're pretty much just blasting stuff. I guess Hold Monster might be useful sometime. Just to paralyze things, I guess. We'll grab that. Next level is level 12, Stigmatized Witch. We are going to give her more charisma at this point. And again, more of the same skills. We have another Hex. I think at this point that Regenerative Sinew is very nice. This basically gives you a free... it's like a free restoration. She can heal up to 4 points of ability score damage to 2 ability scores on each person once per day. So that will save you some resources and some spell slots, because you do cast a lot of restorations. Then we get access. This is a big one to level 6 spells. So you get access to Hellfire Ray here, which is Scorching Ray, but way, 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 way better. You fire a ray plus 1 additional for every 4 caster levels beyond 11th, maximum of 3 rays from caster level 19 on. Each ray does 15d6 damage. Half the damage is fire and half is unholy. She's going to have mythic feats that make the latter bit unimportant, but you're firing, ultimately by endgame, you're going to fire 3 rays per turn that do 15d6 damage each. It's just ridiculous. It targets touch AC. It's super good. So again, we're going to want very situational stuff here. The big ones, if you don't have it, Heroism Greater, really good. Super good buff. So if you don't have that, Nenio brings it easily. If you don't have that, she should take it. Dispel Magic Greater. This one will dispel all buffs off an enemy, so that's super good as well. Raise Dead, obviously useful to have. Stone to Flesh, removing Petrify, they're all good. I'll take Heroism Greater. Again, just assuming you don't have it. Now, level 13, this is where we go a bit crazy. This is where we take our 1 level dip. Now that we have Hellfire Ray and the 6th level spells unlocked, we're actually going to take a little sidestep, a teeny sidestep into Sorcerer for Cross-Blooded Sorcerer. We'll give her the same skills here. Oops, not that one, this one. And she's actually going to get some bonus feats, which is nice. She's going to get some bonus feats. So, at this point, we can get her... already has Spell Focus, doesn't she? She's got actually most of the stuff she already needs. Elemental Focus into Fire is what we're going to get her. Adds an extra +1 DC to all of her fire spells. Hey, guess what? That's her thing. And now this is where things get quite interesting. So she's going to get Bloodlines. We're going to give her Draconic Bloodlines. The reason being, the idea here is we're going to give her brass and gold. The idea here is that at some point in her history, in her bloodline, there was a dragon that interbred and the power now flows through her veins. And the deal here, consummate conversationalists, brass dragons prefer to talk instead of fight. In the lore, metallic dragons are good and the chromatic dragons, the colored ones, are bad. So some examples that pretty clear from the game, like Terendelev, the silver dragon from the very start of the game, like she's super good. There's gold dragons in the game that are super good, and so on. So I think it actually does kind of have lore benefits for Ember. The idea that, hey, maybe there's a little bit of dragon blood in her veins, and that's part of why she's just this ultimate good character. The big benefit of this is this. Draconic Bloodline Arcana Brass. Whenever you cast a spell with fire damage, it does 1 extra damage per dice rolled. So yeah, that Hellfire Ray that we're ultimately going to be firing 3 Hellfire Rays, each of them rolling 15 d6s. So that's what, 45 d6 per turn? That's an extra plus 45 damage off of this, which is nuts. So we're going to grab that. Then we're going to get her the Greater Elemental Focus in Fire as well. And we're also going to get her the Gold Draconic Bloodline. They're the epitome of virtue. Other metallic dragons revere their gold cousins as agents of divine forces, paragons of dragonkind. Seek them out for... The idea here is that, okay, not really an agent of divine force is Ember, but the epitome of virtue, that's definitely her. Just, looking after everyone, being that thing that everyone looks up to. So yeah, we're going to grab that. Oh, and again, the power benefit of this is another +1 damage per dice rolled on fire spells. These spells don't really matter because her caster level on them is going to be so low, it's bad. I'd say the most useful one is probably Shield, which gives her a +4 shield bonus to AC, which she otherwise won't have. So we'll grab her shield. And there you go. That's our one little dip, which I think does fit her character. That's my excuse. And it's very powerful. All right, and we're just going to go Stigmatized Witch. You could also move her into things like Arcane Trickster, but I like just building her as the Witch. Because, again, I think it fits. So same skills. Level 4 spells. At this point, we've got pretty much everything good. We could just get a bit of extra... Not this one. Some extra healing, I guess. So you're never really going to use it. Level 5, probably never going to use these. Probably the most powerful one is Cave Fangs, which sets up some traps and stuff that do some damage. So you could preset some traps, I guess. Is okay. Level 6, again, we're going to nearly always be doing Hellfire Rays. Other essentials here, though. Let's get Dispel Magic Greater at this point. Dispelling buffs off those super buffed enemies makes them much easier to kill. Next level, we're just going Stigmatized Witch now, right to the end. So, again, same skills. A bit more of that. Good. Into our feats. So, at this point is where it opens up a bit more. We're going to have 3 feats right to the end. So, I think we actually need to type it in because it's not recommended. We're going to get her weapon focus. It's not recommended, but it's actually good. Because you can actually, believe it or not, get weapon focus and raise. So there you go. There you go. Weapon focus and raise will give her a +1 to hit with all those rays, which is not too bad. Then for hexes here, I mean, major healing for a bit of extra healing isn't too bad. You can do Cure Serious Wounds once per 24 hours on an ally. That's a nice thing to grab. You're pretty free with the hexes at this point to take what you want. We get level 7 spells now, where she gets Firestorm. Firestorm is insane. So it's a 40-foot burst, hits all enemies, and that whole burst, it's a ranged spell too. It does up to 20 d6 worth of fire damage to everyone there. They take half damage if they reflex save it. If they fail reflex save, they're going to be burned every round. This is just insanely good, and her DCs are going to be really strong, thanks to all the DC benefits we've been giving her. So again, you're looking for more situational stuff. If you don't have True Seeing Communal, it's like a mandatory buff. Lets you see through blur and displacement and invisible creatures, so you need that if you don't have it. Legendary Proportions is completely OP as well for your frontliners. And they've added a lot of dinosaur bones into the game since it was originally launched. They patched in a lot more. But yeah, it gives them +6 strength, +4 con, +6 natural armor from form bonus. Damage reduction 10, makes their weapons do way more damage, massively increases their size, their reach. Yeah, it's insanely good. So if you don't have it, that would be a go-to. Ice Body's a good one for her as well. Makes her immune to ability score damage, blindness, crits, disease, drowning, electricity, poison, stunning, everything that affects physiology, respiration. It's super good to buff herself with this as well. It gives her some damage reduction as well. Yeah, this is fantastic. Heal is obviously really good too for some extra heals. So it's up to you. I would say Legendary Proportions, if you don't have it, is probably the best thing to get. So we'll go with that. But yeah, there's some ideas for the spells. The nice thing about Ember is that she is this flexible. I'm just going to keep upping her charisma. Okay, grand. Spells, whatever. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Break enchantment, doesn't really matter. Level 6, this one does matter because there's a lot of good stuff here. Again, I would probably go with Stone to Flesh. You need someone with this. Removes Petrify, very rare. But Petrify basically kills your character, so it's bad. So you want to remove it. So make sure you remove it. I'm going to give her Ice Body then, so she can Ice Body herself up. Next level. Okay, which again... For her feat, we are going to give her an improved critical in rays. So now her crits, she's going to crit more often with those ray attacks, which will basically kill anything that it touches, which is kind of hilarious. You know, let's just give her Ice Plant at this point, just +2 natural armor bonus to AC. Sure, why not? Just give her a bit more AC. She won't get attacked too much, but there we are. Then we get level 8 spells. So the first time we get some level 8 spells. I would say the most important one to grab at this point is Mind Blank if you don't have it. Right now for me, for example, only Nenio can cast it, and it's opposition school for Nenio, so she doesn't really want to. But +8 saving throws against mind affecting spells and effects. Insanely good. You want to put this on your whole team, so we're going to grab that. And almost there. Almost there, right. Final few points of skills. This is level 18. You're going to get her again at this point. I would say probably heal is a nice thing to have. Let's get her heal. Level 8. Again, this stuff is pretty good. One thing about level 8 as well is she doesn't have any offensive spells. So this is where we want to think about getting meta magic soon to boost stuff up. Especially when, yeah. So that's something to consider. You give her heals to be fine. Frightful Aspect could be okay if you want to stop shrinking her. Just make her bigger, which gives her more con, natural armor, damage resistance, spell resistance, and she could potentially make everything shaken near her. I think that's a decent option. Next level then. We're going to get her this stuff. There we go. I suppose actually in terms of the feats, you could push back like Weapon Focus Ray, and you could actually give her... Instead, actually, you know what? I would recommend this. Is instead, I'd actually give her Empower Spell instead, which lets you give +2 to the spell level and makes their numeric effects increase by half. So it'll make them all, like your Hellfire Rays, do like 50% more damage for +2 spell level. So you could actually use that to fill up your level 8 spell slots. She gets Grand Hexes at this point. The only thing we lose out by not taking her to 20 in Stigmatized Witch is another Grand Hex, and we don't really care. We'll give her Life Giver, so once per day she can resurrect someone for free with no cost, which is nice. Then level 9. Level 9 spells. Mind Blank Communal. Probably doesn't super need it, but it's obviously very, very, very good. So that's a good one to take. She has Secret of Serenity, where she can do some enchantment on enemies. She's Fiery Body by default as well. I think Foresight is probably what I would grab here. You make your team can never be flat-footed, which is insanely good. Because that's one of the few things that will kill you, kill your tanks at this point in the game. I found is that first round of combat when they are flat-footed and they get caught out. That can be where it really, really hurts, especially for dex-based tanks like Camellia. And it also gives you +2 insight bonus on AC and reflex. So I quite like this to just boost up. You could also take summons on any of these levels where you're struggling to use the spell slot. Summons are really good. But Foresight's good. Heroic Invocation is also insanely good. It's like AoE greater heroism, basically. +4 morale on attack and damage rolls, and some temporary HP, immune to fear and charm. So if you don't have that, that's one that's worth considering too. Or Mind Blank as well. Communal is really good as well. I made scrolls for Mind Blank Communal with Nenio, so I didn't need it. And then final level. Again, you could just sort of round this out. She doesn't need the strength. The main reason I would feel to upgrade your casters is so they can equip more gear, but she's fine on that. Or as well, for casters, you're often worried if they get hit by strength debuffs in this game, they can just get one shot by their strength being debuffed, and then they go into negative strength, which insta-kills you. But because she has Ice Body and Fiery Body, she's going to be immune to strength damage, so she'll be fine. So just more Ka is alright. There we go. We can round it out. There we are. Some final stuff. Let's get our summon monster just to have some summons. And for the final level, again, it's sort of up to you. Let's get her the Mind Blank Communal, I guess. Presuming you have Heroic Invocation from someone else. Let's get her that. And yeah, then we go into our mythic stuff. Okay, and then we'll check out her spellbook and see what she's actually doing. So, what we want to get her at level 1, we want to get her Ascendant Element with Fire, which is going to let her fire bypass immunity and resistance. So fire resistance, immunity to fire, doesn't matter. Everything now gets fully affected by all of her fire spells. So that's like the mandatory thing that makes this actually work in this game. We're going to get her an extra mythic ability for Abundant Casting then at rank 2, which will give her 4 more spells per day of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rank, which is just so good. So now she's got a whole bunch of spells to play with. And then the next level, we're going to get her Improved Abundant Casting, so 4 more spells of 4th, 5th, 6th level. So now she's got tons of spells, up from 1 to level 6 in your spellbook. She's going to be spamming those like crazy. And this is the point of the game where she gets really, really good. Okay, then we're going to get her Spell Pen Mythic. So add half Mythic rank to overcome spell resistance. If you have greater Spell Pen, which she will, you get your full Mythic rank. So that's an extra +4 to overcome spell resistance. And now we don't need to worry about spell resistance ever again. She's going to bypass everything. Don't even care. At level 5, we are going to get her a 2nd Bloodline. And we're going to give her an extra bonus of the Red Dragon Bloodline. Which absolutely does not fit the lore at all, because they're evil, but it does give you another +1 point of damage per dice roll for fire, which is OP. So we're going to take it because it's OP. But you could skip that if you want to be a little tiny bit weaker, but be more lore friendly. There's plenty of mythic feats you can take. So you could just, like instead of taking Abundant Cast, you could take Abundant Casting like here and improved it. You could mix it around if you wanted to, but I don't know, it'd be kind of tough to make it fit. Okay, next up then, where are we at? Level 6. So for 6, we want to take Spell Focus Mythic. Spell Focus Mythic. It will basically increase, give you a +1 to both your Spell Focus and Greater Spell Focus. School Mastery is okay as well, ups your caster level, but it's not as important as I think, +2 to your DCs, basically, for all your fire spells. Then here we want to get, of course, the Greater Abundant Casting, so 4 more spells for 7th, 8th, and 9th level. And then Mythic rank 8, we are going to get her. Improved crits, okay, but I actually think Sorcerous Reflex is the go-to, right? The first spell you cast at the start of combat will be Swift Action if it's a 1st level or at least 2 levels below the max level spell you can cast, which means that the first round of combat, she can cast 9th level spells. So you can just swift cast a level 6 Hellfire Ray. So you get a swift cast Hellfire Ray, and then you can just hard cast another Hellfire Ray and just blow something up in the first round of combat before they can even do anything. It's completely OP. Yeah, I think kind of underrated. Then if we look at her spell book, her DCs and stuff are going to be kind of wonky because I took her gear is going to be off. But you'll see her sort of spells. So level 1, not going to be that useful, but she can reduce person on herself. She can mage armor anyone that needs it. Burning Hands, though she'll hurt allies with it, which is bad. So not that useful, but early game it's fine. Level 2, Scorching Ray is the big one. Scorching Ray is tons of damage. It's one of your bread and butter spells. Level 3 then, she's got some nice buffs and situation stuff and fireballs for AoE. Level 4, she has Control Fireball for AoE. She brings some nice buffs at Death Ward. You could, at this point, you can do meta magic if you wanted to, and you could take Scorching Ray, and I like to, let's just make it stand out, and we could empower it. So now it'd be level 4. Great, great. So level 4, you could do some empowered Scorching Rays, which will do more damage if you want to do that. Level 5, we Fire Sneck for some AoE. Level 6, Hellfire Ray is the big one with some situational stuff. Level 7, you do have another Hellfire Ray at level 7 for free as well. You get one from your ring and one from your witch stuff. So for free, both for free. So you got another Hellfire Ray there. Though Firestorm is probably more useful overall. Level 8, not that useful. This is where we want to, again, go into our meta magic. Take Hellfire Ray. And we want to, again, empower Hellfire Ray into level 8. So now you've got Hellfire Ray at level 8 as well. And then level 9, you've got Fiery Body and some nice buffs with like Foresight, Mind Blank. Again, you could empower Firestorm. Like if you wanted to, you could take Firestorm and you could empower Firestorm up until level 9 too, and do some empowered Firestorms. That's totally allowed too. If you don't want to do Foresights and those buffs, you can just use meta magic to fill things in. But there you go. That is Ember, and she will literally destroy everything. Yeah, I hope you found the build helpful, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Make sure, like, comment, subscribe, all that. And let me know any tips that you have as well for the build. All right, see you soon. Bye.